Good evening. I'd like to call the City of North Augusta City Council study session for October the 24th, 2022 to order. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our Assistant City Administrator, Ms. Rachel Moody.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The first item on the agenda is a review of the proposed agenda for the November 7th council meeting. I'm excited. We'll have announcement and recognition of our Employee of the Quarter. We have yet to announce that individual's name, but they will be here, and we have a proclamation for World Pancreatic Cancer Day as well. In terms of unfinished business, we have 3 ordinances related to adopting a budget for our fiscal year 2023. The first ordinance is to adopt the proposed revenues and expenditures. The second ordinance listed is to levy the annual tax on property. And the third ordinance is related to sanitation services and fees. Now, this is the second reading of all 3 of these ordinances, so I'll pause here, turn it over to see if any of you have any specific questions or would like any additional information. Otherwise, we'll move on.
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Under new business, we have 2 resolutions from Public Works. The first one is an authorization for the city administrator to enter into a construction contract with Beams Contracting. We had a fairly significant amount of C funds, which is state road tax or state gas tax funds, I should say, that have been allocated to us for resurfacing of state roads in our community. So we posted a request for proposals for resurfacing of 1.3 miles of state roads with these funds. And then also to rehabilitate Elm Street, which is a city-owned road, which is about 0.05 miles in length. That's a pretty big difference. We did receive 2 sealed bids. We were happy about that. And Beams Contracting, Inc. was the low bid at $424,719. So we were pleased to have received the 2 bids. As you know, it's been a little difficult lately. The C Fund resurfacing is all funded by DOT, will be reimbursed. Those are for the state roads. And the Elm Street rehabilitation will use fund balance from our street improvement fund. If you'd like any more specifics on the state roads that will be resurfaced, Tom can provide you a list of the roads or answer any questions.
Where is Elm Street?
It's
Going up like going to the ledges.
yeah, right off of
Ledge.
Riverside
Oh.
Boulevard. If you head up Ponce de Leon, I believe is the road. And then the first road is it's a short little road on the left. We own that road. Oh. Tomato. That road has not been in the best shape, and previously I think there was just a couple houses there, but at least 4 homes are planned to be developed there. I think 2 are already up, so you're seeing a lot more use of that road up there. Any questions?
No, I think we're good.
All right. The next resolution is something that should have been provided at your dais tonight because we didn't quite have a final draft ready for packet issuance. And this is to authorize funding for the Bluff Avenue Streetscape utility relocations. So as you know, we're doing a number of improvements to Bluff Avenue, commonly known as the Downtown Greenway Connector. And before you put in the pretty stuff, you have to work on the guts of the project, so to speak. And so we previously came to you all, and you all approved the re-ranking and of the CPST 4, and the road reconstruction program was upgraded to priority position number 2. The first priority street for reconstruction is Bluff Avenue. So what we're proposing is to spend up to $180,000 for the relocation of the utility lines to underground them from their current location on poles above ground. So we've got Dominion work underway that will eventually have invoices coming to us. We have AT&T who expects to be paid in advance, and there's a very good chance that Comcast will expect to be paid in advance as well. We've not received anything from Comcast just yet. And again, Tom can answer any specific questions.
This has nothing to do with like the gullies on West Avenue.
No.
Huh?
On Bluff. No.
On Bluff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on Bluff.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, this is This particular resolution is just for the relocation of the communications lines to be undergrounded.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
to
I
move
just
them off
didn't
the
know.
poles.
And we had talked about that and decided that if we're gonna do what we're gonna do on Bluff, we wanted to go ahead and make it look good.
Yeah.
I think Tom's had a heck of a time to get these vendors to respond to us, so, I mean, this
Yeah.
has been dragged out a while, so thank you for getting to this point. Any questions for her? We're good.
All right, thank you. That's all that we have for the November 7th proposed agenda. Next, we'll have department details. You should have the copies at the dais. We'll have finance go first.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have a quick update for you guys tonight. Our Cycle 2 customers will have a disconnect on November 2nd and 3rd, and our Cycle 1 customers will have a due date on November 3rd as well. So, that's all I have unless you have any other questions.
No, thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
All right, next, James with Public Services.
Good evening. This week, property maintenance will be installing fall flowers throughout various areas of the city and planting beds, bringing a little color to some cool weather. And they anticipate being done by weekend. I had a question that was asked of me a couple or so meetings back related to wastewater flow with Edgefield County. I've been in contact with Edgefield, and they've indicated that they anticipate that by sometime mid-year end 2024, they will have their wastewater line offset from the federal prison over to their lift station and start their own treatment of about 350,000 gallons of wastewater per day, which basically equates to a revenue O&M loss on the city of about $247,000 per year. Further, Saluda County is a customer of Edgefield County, and we also convey that wastewater as well. I don't know if you've heard about the treatment plant that Saluda County is anticipating to construct at some time in the future, but Edgefield's indicated that may take place sometime in 2026. So we will be working with finance to make sure that forthcoming budgets and all are fitted to the operations to prepare for the loss of any forthcoming revenue.
That's good. Thank you for finding that information out, and since we're having our, our retreat in February, talking about future growth, it's good to know these dates, so thank you, James. Got plenty of time to work toward that.
Thank you, James. Tommy, Planning and Development.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the Georgia Traffic Calming and Pedestrian Study is moving forward. We're having a meeting with the property and business owners on Georgia Avenue this Thursday evening, October 27th, as the kickoff or to start and get their input on what they would like to see in the area and bring them into the fold. BZA meets Tuesday, November the 1st, and the Development Code Rewrite Committee is still moving along. We have a meeting Wednesday, November the 2nd at 4:30 p.m. here in the building.
Tommy, what's the date, where is the location of the meeting on the 27th? When will that be?
That is at that'll be at 6 o'clock, and it's at the community center, and that is for business owners and property owners. It's not for, this one's not designated for the general public.
Right, okay.
We would like to get their thoughts first.
Very good. Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Tommy. Chief, you're next.
Good evening. Obviously, we're very excited about Station 1, which is Friday, and so we'll have that ribbon cutting on the 29th. I'm sorry, the 28th at 3 o'clock, beginning at 3. Welcome everyone to come out and take a look at our great new facility. Also, we're partnering with the South Carolina Municipal Association to bring the firearm simulator back to us this year. We'll train every PSO officer on that, along with the Citizens Academy, which is taking place right now. Those folks will be able to go through that training as well. So that's a great asset for us. Obviously, you know about the early voting at Station 2. Seems to be going well. So that's in our Station 2 for the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we'll be busy with concerts and Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee all week long this week.
Chief, what are the hours for the early voting?
I think it starts at 7, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Is it like 7 to 7?
8:30 to 5.
8:30 to 5, maybe. I was thinking. It was,
And I would just like to tell the citizens,
yeah.
my sister-in-law went today, and she said it was absolutely wonderful. You walked in, and
Good.
everything very well organized and in and out. So if you need to go early, go.
We're glad to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. And we have the early voting on the homepage of our website. If anyone has any questions, we'll leave that there posted on the homepage for the duration. All right, Rick, Parks, Recreation, and Tourism.
All right, the 36th annual Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee returns this Saturday, October the 29th. And if you flip the page to the back there, you can see a Jack-o'-lantern schedule, and the first event starts Wednesday night at the amphitheater with the Drake Milligan Band and Whiskey Run. So we're excited to bring this back to the city of North Augusta, and looking forward, and hopefully the weather stays as gorgeous as it is today. Also for you, the dilapidated clubhouse trailer at North Augusta Country Club has been fully removed. It is gone. And our crew, PRT maintenance crew, has installed a fence where the trailer was to keep people away from the pool area. 6-foot black vinyl fence, looks pretty good. And last, the city of North Augusta has been selected for a LWCF grant of $264,391 for the Sharon Jones Amphitheater restroom facility. Yes, I want to give credit to my excellent grant writer, Carl Waldhauer.
Rick, will you kind of tell us, folks, remind them, because, you know, when you brought that us several months ago, what that's all going to be about?
Yes, from the get-go at the Sharon Jones Amphitheater, we've wanted to add restroom facility. This facility will be a restroom and dressing room facility for our concert artists, which is a huge deal. Because when you bring someone in, just like this Wednesday, Drake Milligan, we don't have anywhere for them, for the artists to dress and take a break and everything, and that's a big deal when you're booking concert artists. But also, in addition to that, it gives our folks from the Greenway another restroom facility to access all year long. So,
That'll be up top.
yes, it will be up top. We wanted to do it in the grass area down below, but the flood area would not allow us to do that with that grant fund.
That's a big win.
Yes,
Thank y'all.
huge
Thank you.
win. Yes,
Do we have the match set aside?
you control the purse strings.
We'll have it.
Yes, we'll have it.
Yes.
For another session.
Yeah. There are two potential funding sources that we could potentially use, and it'll just be up to you all, what you prefer.
Thank
We're
you,
very
Rick.
lucky.
Thank y'all.
Thanks,
But I
Rick.
know this has nothing to do with the city of North Augusta. Talking about restrooms, I don't know, at the ball game the other night, I looked over on the visitor side at North Augusta High School. Yahoo! We're getting a bathroom for the visitors, and I think concession. And so we'll have to toot Bill Hickson's horn for that. And that's been, I don't know how many years that stadium has been there, but we are finally, not the city, but I guess the citizens, or I don't know who's funding.
One of our
but-
advantages.
Huh?
I thought it was one of our advantages, not letting them have a bathroom.
Oh, okay, yeah. But you know what? Not only
No, it is.
visitors, but citizens have often wondered why we don't have a bathroom on the visitor side. So if you go to a game, look over.
We're not paying for that.
All right. Last but not least, Tom, Engineering and Public Works.
So the Knob Cone Sidewalk project is out for rebid. Those bids are due on November 8th, so hopefully we will be coming to you soon after that with a funding resolution and a recommendation to award to a contractor. We also will have out for bid this week a contract for miscellaneous paving and resurfacing. In the 23 budget, there was included $100,000 for paving some alleys in the downtown area. So this will include that, and we're bidding it somewhat in advance because it also includes the paving of the Greenway extension that's under construction right now. So we hope that by combining those two projects, we might get a little more interest from bidders. Obviously, the Greenway paving will have a much earlier completion date than the alleys. Those will be done sometime just later in the course of next year. But again, that work will be out for bid this week and with a tentative bid date of November 17th.
Hold on, Mr. Tom. And I am so happy because I live right there at the high school, and the other day I bet I saw 8 or 10 little children walking on Knob Cone in the street. So I'm so excited about that. But I told the mayor earlier in council, I had a call today from Leon Long, who lives in Knollwood, who backs up to the new project, the townhouses or whatever they build in there. And Bob gave me the correct name for this. He does have cracks in his sidewalk from the sheep foot that's pounding the earth. Roller, yeah. All right, also, it shakes these people's houses. They can feel it inside their house, the shake. Also, it has actually knocked off some of their computers when they're working, when they're doing this. Now, Pat Carpenter took herself onto the building field today and stopped the big trucks. I'm waving and told them, come here quick. So they got out, and we looked at these cracks, and another big thing's happening. The trucks were sort of flying through that on the dirt. Of course, dust, you could not see through the dust. And what it's doing is coming into these people's houses, and I'm telling y'all, like if I'm a house, where Kevin Toole is a building. That's how close they are. And but we did talk to one gentleman, so he went and got his supervisor, and the supervisor, who is named Jonathan, he said he thinks they're through with the sheep foot, the roller, that they're through now, they're removing dirt. But they did slow those trucks down when I was there, and it wasn't quite as much dust. But also, we asked them about possibly wetting the ground, to stop some of the dust, because this particular house has a patient, his wife has COPD, which affects her breathing. All right, and so the young man said, well, we did have the water, we were wetting the ground, but we were leasing these, so it cost too much money, and that was stopped. So I said, well, y'all just get off that money and go back and get those wet things or trucks and do these for the citizen. I'm telling y'all, it's absolutely awful. And if I'd have had my time over, of course, we didn't see this project. It never came before us. But it is, I'm telling you, is right up at these people's houses. And like I told him, they have invested their money, and then they're also concerned with cracks in their foundation. If it's cracking the sidewalks or their driveways, probably going to crack the foundation. But we will say Jonathan, and Leon's trying to get an appointment with Jason Winder to come talk with him and show him. But Jonathan said he's going to look into things and talk to his supervisor. Now, like I said, how can we get rid of dust other than wetting the ground? So I told Mr. Long I would share this with council, and whether we said the project must go on. I mean, that's I mean, it started, but it is really rough for these people right now.
So dust management is a requirement of the South Carolina DHEC stormwater permit, their NPDS permit that is issued through the city. And so we've been fielding those complaints for several months now. Tanya Strickland has been receiving those complaints, and she's been.
From this area?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
She's been-
Oh, well, that's
she's
good.
been-
I mean, he
but I'm
is,
saying she's been very aggressive in dealing with them, but she has not, to my knowledge, received any complaints here recently, but I will certainly.
yeah. Well, I was there today. I mean, he called me, said, come look. And it was. I mean, it was like I was having to fight my way through it to get there,
So
but.
we can certainly address those requirements,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the authority to stop the project until they bring those.
Well, Leon wants the project to hurry and get through. Go ahead. Yes, well, I wouldn't say stop them, Lord, no, let them
What
go.
about the sidewalks? Is that
But-
something the contractor would fix on that? If that's really what's
Oh, I don't know. I mean, if it's damage to private property, the city really has.
Well, it's their driveway.
Yeah.
No, it's not city. She's not talking about city infrastructure.
No, this is the driveways of the private
Oh, okay,
homes
the driveway.
that are
That's what I'm saying,
cracking.
The contractor would deal with that.
Yeah, I'm sure he will if
I
he
know
can get
it's
him
not
to call him back.
But that'll be a private.
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, that way, he understands that. But like I said, just the dust and the pounding and,
Well, let him know that Tanya's been working on
okay.
Well, Tom, they,
Well, and I
I'm gonna
will
look
say,
into
the young man we talked to, Jonathan, was very nice, and whether he can do anything now, I don't know, but we told him to go try. And then if not, we'll be back.
well, they were moving dirt for the past 3 weeks, so there really was not any reason for the dust to be stirred up other than the trucks. But it is bad, it's like a plume down there.
Or he lives on Cascade, and that's where they're backing up to. But I think too, if they'd wet the dirt a little bit, that might control some of that dust.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to share that tonight.
We'll get in touch with them. Thank you, Tom.
All right, our final update is from Human Resources. JD is not here this evening, but on page 2 of the department details packet, you can see the full list of employment opportunities that we currently have open. That's all we have for the department details. Under Mayor's Matters, forgive me, Mayor, I have actually forgotten whether I do this part or you do this.
No, you do. I did the last piece, so
Okay.
whether we do economic development, and then we'll have the folks.
Okay.
Look away, yeah.
So this evening, for our focus item on economic development, Linda can give us an update on our Riverside Village financial reporting. Thanks, Linda.
No problem. Good evening again. Tonight I have for you our third quarter update for the Riverside Village. As mentioned before, we do these on voluntary basis. Back in 2019, council made that decision to provide more timely update on the financing related to Riverside Village. This first paragraph is the update discusses that it is voluntary and it was recommended by our bond counsel to include. And you will see this paragraph on all the updates. This particular update has been published on EMMA, the Electronic Municipal Market Access. This update, along with all of our previous updates, can be found at emma.msrb.org under the North Augusta Public Facilities Corporation. We are required to do the annual filing, which we complete usually in May after our audit is done. Several tables in this update come from our audit, and so you won't see a lot of changes in the first several tables this quarter. All right, this first chart is a table that reflects the assessed values of all real and personal property for the 2020 tax year and the prior 4 years. Again, this table has not changed since last quarter's update. Next, you will have our tax rate table, and it has also remained unchanged. The next table is a copy of our 2022 general fund budget, which we are required to be published annually, and it is preferred that it's disclosed on its own table. And again, this has not changed since our last update. Next is the 10 largest taxpayers in the city, and this comes straight from our statistical section of our financial reports, and it has remained unchanged. Okay, the tax collection of the city. The numbers have not changed, but I would like to point out that collections in subsequent years number on the fiscal year ended 2020 line, you'll see that 889,764. As you can see, we had some delayed payments from our 2019 tax year, fiscal year 2021, that we actually received in 2021. So prior to fiscal year 2021, you can see that our percentage collected was about 8% less than what we have historically collected. And then once fiscal year 2021 hit and we received those delayed payments, you can see that our tax percentage, or the percentage we collected, moved up into what we would consider our historically normal rates. So I just wanted to point out that number real quick because we'll see it again. All right, this table is part of the audit, which is where we disclose our debt. This includes our capital lease for vehicles and equipment that we do at the city, as well as debt pertaining to Riverside Village, the public safety headquarters, and utilities. Again, this table has remained unchanged. This table is our general obligation bonds. We do have one for public safety headquarters, and just as a reminder, since that was done through a referendum, we still have our entire borrowing capacity of 8%. Next are our local hospitality taxes. During quarter 3, we collected a little over $600,000. For the fiscal year 2022, we've collected about $1.7 million in hospitality taxes, and we are up 8.3% from this time last year. And that is another 1% in growth compared to quarter 2 comparison that I gave y'all last quarter. So again, we're still seeing that trend of hospitality doing well in the city. And as a reminder, our hospitality rate is 2%, but only 1% is dedicated to the debt service.
So we're on track
We are-
to surpass 2021 without any issue, probably 10%,
Correct.
yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Next is our accommodations tax. Now, this table does represent all accommodation taxes, but we currently only have the Crown Plaza's accommodation tax dedicated towards debt service. Our tax rate for the city is currently at 3%. Our collections are up 39.4% over third quarter 2021. So again, we're on track. Right. Our next table is our tax increment revenues. This includes all TIF revenues collected. So it also, while it includes the county income, it also includes the intergovernmental agreements we have and the payment that we make of about $350,000 to the county as part of that agreement, which we fulfilled that obligation last quarter. So what I'd like to point out here on the 2021 fiscal year is that number that we have is 126%, looks like 126% growth. Now, I want to reflect back to that table where I showed you the subsequent taxes collected in, or the taxes collected in subsequent years. That growth is a little misguided because we should have collected that amount in 2020. So what we should have seen was an increase of up to about $2.5 million, and it would have showed about a 200% increase fiscal year 2020, which is when the Riverside Village came on par. And then what we should have seen, had the late payments not happened, we would have seen about a 19% growth in the fiscal year of 2021. So with that, what we have collected so far this year is tracking what we should be doing with regular growth. Are there any questions about that? I know that's a little confusing.
So we were ahead of the game in 2021 if we had not included the back of the 800 some odd thousand that
Correct.
was paid. But looking at this, based on what's coming in, we are confident that we feel good about where we'll end at year end.
Yes, sir. We should have seen a much larger growth in the fiscal year 2020 than we did. So the numbers, we still got the same amount of money. It's just that it's a little, the timing is off.
Very good.
I know that was a question last quarter, so I just wanted to address that. All right, the next table we have represents our mid-assessments. No mid-assessments were collected during the third quarter, and again, that 15% penalty has already been added to those properties that are not collected yet. I will update that we have received a mid-payment of about $25,000 for quarter 4, so you will see that number change next quarter. Okay, parking revenues. This chart is still showing that negative number in that amount. I do want to point out that the parking revenues is a net number. It is the revenue minus the expenses that we have spent. And again, we are still continuing negotiations with the hotel and the management group, and we are still continuing to pay what we feel are our obligations for the parking expenses. And our final chart here is the stadium revenue. So in quarter 3, we received our admissions tax from the state, and you will see that in that first column. Last quarter, that number was 0. And then our corporate naming rights we will get in December. That's just the schedule they do it on. And so you will see that number updated in the quarter 4 report. So that concludes the Emma report and Riverside Village update. Do y'all have any questions? Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Linda.
No problem. Thank you.
Our next focused item, we have a guest here to present on a proposed project for West Forest Drive. It's a project related to Lookaway Inn, and Mr. John Felak is here.
We know you, sir, but just for the record, if you state your name and address so we can have it recorded,
Home
please.
address? Home address or business address? John Felak?
Yeah.
Home address 1901 White Bark Avenue, Augusta.
Thank you, John.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor and Council and staff, for allowing us just to make a short presentation to you. I know you have a busy week ahead of you. As you may or may not know, Lookaway Inn has had some great expansion events happen in the last, it's taken almost a year and a half to get to this point, but we had our groundbreaking not too long ago and moving along very well with what we hope is a facility that will ensure the long business survival of Lookaway Inn. Surviving as a historical home and a small hotel is challenging. Certainly over the last couple years it has been. To just support the numbers for accommodation taxes, our business in 2021 and 2022 has been sensational for us. We've seen our business continue to grow. We've seen our business continue to be open to the city as well. So as we expand, we are constantly looking as to what the next project or next obstacle may be. And for us, we think it's access for our users to be able to get to the hotel. We get a lot of non-hotel use of our parking lot. We get people looking for, what are these Nintendo things they're out there looking for? These
Pokemon.
Pokemons. Yes.
Pokemon,
Yeah,
yeah.
every week we've got somebody sitting in our parking lot.
That's still popular?
Going past, yes, they are. Going past our signs that say "Look Away" and "Guest Only," parking in our lot to say, we're just looking for Pokemons. No Pokemons allowed. We did make an appeal to the city probably about, I don't know, 16 months or so ago to try to identify some parking areas along Carolina Avenue. As you know, Carolina Avenue is a very wide street, but it's only designed for one-way traffic each way as a two-lane street, but it gets a lot more than that. There's an awful lot of parking along that street, all the way up and down from where it meets Georgia Avenue, all the way up to Martintown Road. Forgive me, too, for not introducing Mr. Wright McLeod. Wright's also on our ownership team at Lookaway, and Wright, I'd give you the opportunity to say something if I missed something. Thank you, yes. So the idea came for West Forest Avenue. It's just how much traffic is on there and what an outstanding addition it would be, we think, to the entire city and the entire downtown, certainly as well as us, to have some additional parking there. Just last week, I had a full inn of guests from an out-of-town wedding, and when I walked outside, I had 12 cars from the high school taking pictures. They were all parked in our lot. And they just said, well, we just thought we'd just take a picture out here. And I said, well, you know, it is private property. But then they all went from there down to the park and left their cars kind of where we are. We try to be good stewards, and we try to do that. But additional parking would be a tremendous improvement, not only for us, but for all the events that are held downtown. The business owners for Georgia Avenue traffic, I thought was very interesting. I don't know where that stopped. I don't recall getting an invite to that. As far as Georgia Avenue traffic, we do border Georgia Avenue on there, so I'm not sure where that extended to.
Guess what? You're invited.
I got a commitment on Thursday already.
It's in right. It's in right.
It's in right. But Georgia Avenue is a particular concern for us as well. We have people that will, on the West Forest Avenue, pull out onto Georgia Avenue. If you've ever done that, it's a dangerous spot. You have to really sneak out to get past the tree lines both ways, and it's coming down. The traffic coming down the hill does tend to go fairly fast, and anybody that's coming down Georgia Avenue trying to turn onto West Forest almost has to get into the left lane in order to make that turn unless they slow down to 5 or 10 miles an hour. A lot of people don't do that, so we do see it as a safety concern as well. So we just put together just a simple drawing here just to begin the concept to see if the city council and mayor would even consider the closing of West Forest Avenue in front of Lookaway Inn and using that as a facility to expand the use of Calhoun Park, which we've talked about extensively over the last couple of years, and also for the tree lighting and the Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee and parade and whatever else that we have planned for the downtown area. So this would add about, I don't know, 17 on each side, maybe 30, 35 parking spots. This is just a conceptual design. Actually had a construction guy that's working on our project look at it today, and this is an architect's design, so the gold standard of it. But the construction side of it probably doesn't need that much space, depending on how the spots are. Straight-in spaces need a little bit more space than angled lots. And we don't think that the sidewalk off Calhoun Park would even have to be removed if we got to the point where we could start something.
You need some of the Calhoun Park property?
I don't think so.
It looks like it's in there. That's
It is in the architect's design that he took about 10 minutes to draw out. So
But you won't need anything on the Calhoun Park property.
I don't think so. I don't think that I can answer that question 100% right now. But a lot of it depends on the angle of the spot, whether it's a 45 or a 22 and a half, whether it's parallel parking on one side or angled parking on both. But some kind of an expansion there, I think, would be a benefit for both of us.
I think this is a fantastic idea. How would we go about regulating who is parking in those lots? So, you know, I guess if you kind of have y'all talk through that, or is there going to be signs up, or?
Yeah, well, I think the answer to that question Jen, whose is it? Whose lot is it? Is it,
Yeah.
You know, it's a private lot. We all use other people's lots for other functions. We use First Baptist lot a lot. We have an agreement with Able Kids to use their lot as part of our project. Benjamin Moore is another one. If they're not in, business isn't open, they've been open for us to be able to use some of their lots too. But people do have to cross roads and just not quite as safe. You know, the answer is, what are the future plans for that particular area? For us, we're investing $1.5 million new money into a facility for the long-term success of Lookaway Inn. We want to continue that. We have a great relationship as far as the other functions that are there. We'd like to continue that, but of course, we're not going to be around forever either. So it is a business, so having the city as part of that process, to me, is something I would favor. So to regulate it, it would be.
And I'm assuming the cost of doing that would be something y'all would be taking care of?
Well, I think the answer to that too is whose lot is it? So, and what kind of standards it would take for us to build that lot? Looking at it from a layman's standpoint, could it be just as easy as digging out our hillside, paving that, and then having that area and restripe it, and having that area as a parking lot, and closing off Georgia Avenue? I don't know whose responsibility that would be.
Well, that's a great idea, closing off West Avenue where it comes into Georgia. That is a dangerous intersection there, and
There's Forest.
West Forest, yeah, whatever.
I might defer to Rick a little bit with Calhoun Park. It's a gorgeous park that's there. It's so well maintained. It certainly has a lot of notoriety over the last number of years, and there's so much that can be done there. And having accessible parking that's identified for it, I think would be a huge benefit for that particular area. As I tell people when I give them tours of the inn, and we look from the main house and look out at the park, I tell them this is the heartbeat of the city right here. This is historically where North Augusta began. The two churches, the high schools on the right and the elementary school on the left. Calhoun Park itself has had lots of changes over the years as well. But it's a beautiful, beautiful facility that is seen by many people that too often drive right by it. So we'd like to try to change that.
Maybe we should, similar to what we were talking with Lance about down at Hammond's Ferry. You know, his idea was they would build it and foot the bill for it, but if they had a private event, they would put up signs for their parking, and then the rest of the time, anybody could use it publicly. Maybe that's kind of the route we need to do with this. I mean, because I do see it as being a benefit, you know, because I wouldn't imagine during the middle of the week are full all the time, or you would need every one of them. But, I mean, there are people that is a icon of North Augusta, and they want to take pictures there. Same thing with the park. So we may need to look at something like that, John, if y'all are open to that.
We're certainly open on opening the discussion of it.
One thing I say, if John Felix comes up with it, you know it's solid. He is one of my heroes in life. But first of all, I presume.
His pocketbook.
Huh? Do what?
Nothing.
No, I admire John and his thinking in North Augusta. He's always looking out for North Augusta, and thank you, John. But one thing, is it a state road? I mean, is that something we'd have to find out?
It's my understanding it is a state.
I mean, you know how DOT is sometimes, heaven help us. But also, I think Carolina, well, people don't park on Georgia, but they do on Carolina, and that is very, very dangerous. And in my book, we should, and y'all don't boo me, but I mean, that should be a partnership sort of, because it is going to benefit the downtown North Augusta for that parking to be there. I'm 100% for that. And Jennifer, to your question, and Tom and Tommy might answer better, but I know at Parks Pharmacy and Pink Dipper, even though those parking spots are right by Parks Pharmacy, Pink Dipper customers use them. They cannot come out there and say, this is not your parking spot. You know, so I think most every parking spot in downtown North Augusta is open to anybody, any citizen, anytime. You can't specifically say, well, this belongs to Lookaway Hall, only. So
You know, our
I
other-
think it's a great idea, John.
Our other option of additional parking on property would include taking out some of the historical camellias in the back of Lookaway, which we have not wanted to do. We had to remove about 3 of them for the project, but none of them were historically significant. They were more common camellia flowers, and all of the ones that have been pre-registered and named by Dr. Milling have been preserved, and they're in the backside of that property.
So, kind of how this normally works is, not Jim, but Rachel, since you're here, we need to just basically get a consensus from us that, one, are we willing to consider this? But what I'm hearing, based on questions, is we need staff to do research. That includes Tom Zeser as far as the issues with DOT. Because I just know when we did Bluff Avenue, they required us to take several other streets. So it's not just as simple as, hey, DOT, give us the road. Nothing is. But we need that. I think there's some legal issues that Kelly will need to look into, just other statutes of other states with roads. So, Rachel, if we're across the board, I think everybody's nodding. The consensus is we would like staff to proceed with getting us proper data and information to see, hey, is this something that we can do if we want to do it, to pursue at some point down the road? Is that fair? You good with that on your end? You good? So, is that, you good?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah.
All right, thank you, appreciate this
Thank you.
coming. Thank you, John.
One point.
Wait, Bob's got one question.
One thing I'd like to add, if staff would look at the lighting on Carolina Avenue, I know during the Christmas lighting, it's so dark in there with those overgrown trees, so we can just look at improving the lighting along Carolina Avenue.
That's a good point, I hadn't thought about that.
Thank you. I've made all those notes.
Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate your evening. Okay, this is when you turn on.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, so I'm just going to highlight a couple things. Some of these have been mentioned, but I just want to do it again. So again, another reminder to everybody, October the 24th through the 28th, October the 31st through November 4th, voting. I will tell you, I was number 225 today, and this was at like 2 o'clock. So again, very positive, and I will tell you, Representative Bill Hickson and Senator Tom Young were very, brought that idea to the administration, and I appreciate Jim and Rachel supporting that. So it's amazing. The guy next to me, when he finished, he said, sure beats going to Aiken, which it is. So the key is, if this helps more people vote, that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. So remind that to folks, we'll put it on the site. Jack-O-Lantern Jubilee, we've already talked about that. Just to let you know, folks, if you've ever wanted, if you're mad at the mayor and you want to dunk them, I'm in the Dunkin' booth, 1:30 to 2 o'clock with the North Augusta Mothers Club. So it's all for a good cause. So please come on down and see if you can dunk me. I don't think you can, but if you think you can. There will be a proclamation read at Lookaway on 5 p.m. On Wednesday. It's Walter Jackson, who is our James G. Jackson's brother. It's 100 years, and a lot of people don't realize what Walter Jackson means to this community, so I'll be reading a proclamation, so if you'd like to attend, I think the number of millage, there's a lot happening that night. Chief Thomas mentioned the ribbon cutting. I continue to get compliments, like we all do, how good that fire station looks, Chief. I mean, I think about the struggle that former Mayor Pettit and most of this council dealt with, and I think it just goes to show you that the city listens and does the right thing, because we get nothing but compliments. So it'll be a joy to be able to be there on Friday. So I look forward to seeing everybody there, and it's open for the public. So please come at 3 o'clock, tour it. And the last thing I wanted to throw out is the Optimus Club tomorrow night will be having a dinner recognition for our 3 resource officers. That's Officer Chavis, Stembridge, and Officer Pierce. That'll be at 6:30 at the community center. more than welcome to come to that. But the principals will be there. They'll be speaking of giving positive affirmations of what these officers have meant to the schools. So again, that falls under Chief Thomas. I know Captain Counts will be there, but I think I just commend Optimist Club for that recognition, because these folks do a lot of things with the schools, and it's nice to see them and their family get recognized. So I just want to let y'all know about that. So that's really all I've got, unless there's anything else. Pat, you sure you don't have nothing?
Well, I'd like to share something with Brother Rick. No, I was at the rec center Saturday coaching my special wrecking crew. And these couple walked in, and of course, I feel like sometimes I work over at the rec center, right? And I said, "Oh, may I help y'all?" Ended up, they were from Kentucky, and they said, and they dined here for about 2 or 3 weeks for him to be trained on his job. And so they said, "We are looking for a place called the Greenway." I said, "Well, come on, buddy, I'm gonna give you a personal tour." So I took them out, and they were so amazed. Then I went back in the rec center, and I saw this man just creeping around. I said, "Now, who in the world is that?" So I went up to him, too. And he's from Columbia. And he said he was so impressed with that. And he stayed at Lookaway Hall. And he had walked from Lookaway Hall to the rec center. And so I met 3 new people Saturday that was so impressed with our city.
Well, I'm going to just add on to that, too. Representative Hickson told me I think his stepdaughter's is marrying a gentleman from Connecticut. The father owns Mohawk Printing. They had a huge group of Northerners down here for this big event. They stayed at Crown Plaza, and Bill said that they booked half the hotel. I mean, it was a huge event. But Representative Hickson said they just could not get over how impressed they were with the city of North Augusta. It just went on. And, you know, Bill, he's trying to see if they come down to South Carolina and open a plant. I mean, you know. But anyway, so a lot of great things. We've never brought anybody to North Augusta they weren't impressed. So thank you for sharing that. Now you're talking. Okay, as always, thank you for what you do, and we stand adjourned.